Once upon a time, there lived a great king in the land of Hachi. He was so great that people feared him from far and wide. His people were happy to be under him because he was a great warrior and was very protective towards them. When he spoke, shivers ran down the spines of those listening to him, and so he was well respected. He was married with two children, a son and a daughter called Chisum and Chugu. Chisom the son was 19 years, while Chugu the girl was 17 years old. Chisom was the heir to the throne and was being groomed to take over the royal throne when his father passed on. The king's daughter, Chugu, was a very beautiful girl and was the pride of her parents. Her father, the king, was always being offered many gifts for her hand in marriage, but he was determined to let his daughter get to 18 years of age before marriage. He wanted her to make the right choice herself. He didn't want to forcefully give her out to a man, and she would later in life start blaming him for a wrong match. I want my daughter Chugu to make her choice of her husband, he always said. Chugu always walked about the palace grounds in the evenings when she had nothing to do. She loved the cool breeze, and around her she felt comfortable. She had two maids, Onyi and Asa. She was always accompanied by Onyi, her first maid, each time she came out to the palace grounds. In that village, there was a very big mysterious tree at the center of the village square. The tree looked attractive and well built to the eyes because of the way it stood. At night, you could hear the sound of the tree as though sweeping the entire square, and in the mornings, the villagers would find the square had been swept by a mysterious hand. Once in one Eke day, she decided to go to the market and buy some beautiful bangles for her use. She wanted to buy the colors she liked, so she told her maids to get ready to escort her to the market. They told them they would be strolling down on foot. They got ready and soon were on their way. At the village square, she set eyes on the attractive and mysterious tree at the center of the village square and stood looking at it. The leaves were so green, very fresh, and swaying in the wind as though being pushed by a mysterious hand. She exclaimed, "Oh, what a lovely tree you are. I wish I can hug you," she muttered aloud, smiling, her beautiful face lightening up. To her amazement, the tree replied, "You are also a lovely young lady. I wish I can hug you too." "What?" she exclaimed aloud, turning to see if her maids were also hearing what the tree was saying. But from their expressions, she could see they did not hear anything. "Really?" she asked the tree. "Yes, I mean it," replied the tree. "All right, let me hug you then," she said, moving towards the tree and hugging it. As soon as she opened her arms and hugged the tree, she felt human arms come around her waist. She felt as if it was the hands of a mortal being, and sensation flowed from the touch down her spine. She had never felt such before, and she could not understand what was happening to her. "What? So beautiful you are, and I love you," the tree whispered to her. "I've been watching you every time you walk past here without looking at my direction and wondering when you will ever do that." "What?" Princess Sugar exclaimed again. "You know me?" "Of course I do," it exclaimed. "Since you were born, I've been waiting for you." How is this possible? She thought to herself, but the tree had heard her thoughts. "Yes, it is possible, my love. You've been my wife for centuries. I came to this world in the form of a tree long ago, while you came just 17 years ago in human form," the tree explained. Is that link that made you notice me today?" For almost an hour, the princess was busy talking to the tree, while her perplexed maids stood there watching her. They were surprised to see the princess soliloquizing. The maids could not believe their ears at what the princess was saying. She was talking to the tree like a human being. It was also evident she was oblivious of their presence and that of other people gathering around them now. My princess, what are you saying? Onyi asked, touching the princess to draw her attention. The princess realized herself and turned to look at her. Onyi, her maid. Ah, she shook her head as though to wake up from a terrible dream. She looked at the tree again and turned to leave because people were beginning to stare at her. Bye for now, my love, said the tree. She felt love engulf her body and replied, bye. She started moving away towards Eke Market with her maid. While they were moving towards the market, the maid started questioning her. What's wrong, Princess Chugu? Asked her, sir. You were practically talking to yourself while you were under the tree. Oh, nothing, she replied as they went along. When the maids got back to the palace, they told the queen what had happened. The surprised queen did not say anything. She only told the maids to put closer eyes on the princess and report back if anything strange continued. That night, she was so deep in thought that she could not sleep. The moment she dozed off, she saw a very handsome man come to her and told her it was the tree and had come to visit her. In the dream, he was so handsome that he was so charming that the princess fell for him. They talked and played a lot in the dream, and the compatibility was mutual. The next morning, Princess Chugo looked about. She woke up suddenly when I started looking about and began to cry when she realized that all been a dream. She wanted to still be with the man in the dream, and she felt like going back to sleep in order to be with him. But when she shut her eyes, she could not see or feel him anymore. She cried a lot and in the morning refused to eat or speak to anyone. The maid told the queen her daughter had refused to eat and had been crying since she woke up. Such a behavior was unusual of the princess. So the queen went to her daughter to find out what was happening. Chugo refused to speak with her mother and turned her back on her, facing the wall. The pet name her parents usually called her was Chi. So her mother in a soft tone asked, my beautiful Chi, what's making you cry? Sniffing in tears, Princess Chugo refused to answer. She talked to her for some time and left when she became quiet, thinking she had fallen asleep. She went straight to the king and told him what the maids had said happened that morning. The king was perplexed but dismissed it and told the queen to tighten the security around the princess without letting her know about it. The next day, Princess Shugo got ready again at about noon and said she was going to the market. The maids were surprised because she never went to the market often. She had gone to the market last decade, so what could it be she wanted to buy again this time? The maids wondered and got ready to go with her. The queen, on hearing that the princess was going to the market again, sent some palace guards to follow them from a distance without the girl's knowledge. So when they got to the village square where the tree was, Princess Jugo ran to stand under the tree with a broad smile on her face. She heard the tree laughing and talking to her. Welcome, my love. How did you enjoy my stay with you last night? It was fun, she replied. For the first time in my life, I had a happy and wonderful moment. The tree laughed. The princess said, I wish you had not gone back. I wanted to spend more time with you. Oh, but you know I cannot stay there forever. The tree replied, I'm a tree in this lifetime, and I needed to return home to do my duty at the village square. Ah, that was terrible for me, and I cried all day missing you, she replied. Oh, sorry, my love. I didn't mean to make you cry. It doesn't matter now. I'm with you, she replied, laughing and hugging the tree. She rested her head on the tree trunk and said, I missed you. I wish we can be together all the time. Well, we can if you want, answered the tree, holding her in reciprocation. But how? Asked Princess Shugo, looking up at the tree. You are not in human body. You are not here in person. But you are able to communicate with me and understand what I'm saying, said the tree. You can come to me in the daytime and I'll come to you at night. And in that way, we'll always be together. Yes, you are right, my love, shouted the princess. Tomorrow I'll come and tonight you will come. All right, deal? The tree asked, looking at her with love that only the princess could see. Yes, my love. All right. Bye for now, they said to each other, and the princess turned to her maid, only to see that a crowd of people had gathered around. They were watching her with strange looks in their eyes. She had been talking with the tree, and only her voice was being heard. They were not hearing the voice of the tree. She looked around and hissed, then made her way down the road leading back to the palace. She did not go to the market again. Princess Shugo has gone mad, they shouted. The villagers started to talk. Mouths were wagging left and right. Princess Shugo has gone mad, they murmured, and the news spread around the entire kingdom like wildfire. The maids and the guards could not obstruct or interrupt the princess while she was in the public. They quietly went home and told the king and queen everything that happened that day at the village square. What must have come over my daughter, the king said to his wife in a mood that she had never seen before. What do you think is happening, beloved? I can't seem to understand, my lord, she replied. I can't, balancing the crown on her head tenderly. Where could we have gone wrong? The king asked. We've always been there for the children. Right now, I don't seem to understand it at all. We need to give this a serious thought and pray that new behavior she's exhibiting stops. Otherwise, we shall need to find fast solutions to it, the king said. That night, Princess Shugo was alone and not yet asleep when the tree came, this time in a human body. Not dream, to discuss with her. He was so real and handsome that Shugo kept admiring him. They were together in the physical, like real life situations, talking about love, marriage, and family. How he managed to come into the room, no one knew. You must not marry anyone except me. And by the way, when are we doing our marriage? The three asked. Anytime you want, my love, replied the princess. They parted with so much love. The next day, Princess Shugo ordered her maids to follow her with her chair. She took them to where the tree stood at the village square. When they got there, she put the chair down under the tree and sat down. Within a few minutes, she started discussing with the tree. She sat there laughing at the funny things the tree was saying to her. It was terrible. Oh, everyone passing by stopped to see who the princess was speaking with because they could not see anyone near her. She was speaking with an invisible person. So sorry, the princess has gone mad, they whispered. Quickly, the guards ran back to the palace to tell the king and queen. The queen followed them to the village square and saw her daughter talking to an invisible person. Come on, Chi, let's go home, she said to her daughter. No, Mama, replied the princess. I'm not going home now. I've promised my fiancé I'm going to sit with him all day. I'm not going against my words now. And who is your fiancé? Asked her mother. Him, of course, she replied, pointing at the tree. What? Shouted the villagers, and they asked, what has come over the princess? The queen ordered the guards and maids to take the princess back to the palace and lock her in. She went back to her husband and told him how their daughter had behaved in the square. The husband and wife decided to do something about it before it was too late. It was terrible. That night, the tree in human form came as usual to spend the entire night with her. The next day, the princess went alone without the maids to sit under the tree, and it was terrible at the sight of the princess soliloquizing at the center of the village with no one in sight. The king decided to arrange a marriage between Princess Shugo and the youngest of the princes coming for her hand in marriage. The earlier the marriage takes place and she goes to her husband, I think it's better, he thought. But before that, the king had made up his mind to cut down the big tree. Chugo refused to marry whoever that has been said about. She told her parents that she was only going to marry the tree because she loved him and they had promised to get married to each other. Her parents tried talking her out of it, but no way. The next morning, the king sent 20 strong men who could cut down trees to go to the village square and cut down the tree. The men went there to cut the tree down. They tried as much as they could, but they were not able to cut it down. They heard the sound of wailing coming from the tree. This they had never seen or experienced before. They had to run for their lives and went to tell the king the strange incident. That night, the tree went to meet the princess and told her her father had sent 20 men to destroy him, but they had not been able to do it. As it was lamenting, they both started to cry. Why can't they leave us alone to get married and live together? Princess Chugu asked, sobbing. They can't, said the tree. It's because I'm not in a human form. But does it really matter? Asked the princess. Soul is soul. I understand my love, but that's not the way the world is, it replied. What if they succeed in destroying you? What will I do? She asked. I can't live without you. They held onto each other and almost cried their hearts out. He was in human form interacting with her. So handsome he was that she could not bear the thought of losing him. If they succeed in cutting me down, that will be my end, he said to the princess. And I'll never see you again. I'll kill myself, she said, sniffing and wrapping her hands about him. No, you don't need to do that. I'll come back again, but then in a human form to stay with you until your old age, he said. But I'll be older than you, and that could take a lot of time before I see you again. Ha. No, my love. I'll come as your child, and then no one can separate us, was his reply. He held her, and they sat together crying and muttering sweet words to one another. Thus they were until the early hours of the morning before he left. That morning, the king presented Princess Chugo to the suitor they had arranged for her. But Chugo refused to marry him and accused her father of trying to cut down the tree that was her husband-to-be. The perplexed king did not understand what her daughter was saying, and this made him all the more determined to bring down the tree. The suitor looked at the beautiful princess and felt sorry for her. He could understand what love meant, but loving a tree was beyond him. He had heard the whole thing from his people about the princess who suddenly became estranged and was wondering how he could possibly help her out of the problem. The suitor, who was a young prince, told the king he wanted to have a few words with the princess alone. So they were shown to her room, and there the prince asked the Princess Chugo what the problem was real. He told her he could see she was trying to express her feelings to her parents, but they did not understand her. The prince was so compassionate with his words that the princess relaxed a little. I want to be your friend, and I believe you can tell me what the problem is so that I can talk to your parents, he said to her in a kind and understanding tone. Sniffing her nose unladylike, she looked at him to be sure he was really ready to listen and understand. He read her mind, and from the look on her face, yes, I'm here for you. I want to be your friend, a real friend, and please forget about marriage for now, he said. Talk to me as a friend. Can we be friends? Yes, we can. We can be friends, she replied, her waist, stiffling her waist, but later a little smile flickered on her face. Okay, tell me what's going on, he cajoled. She started to talk and talk. She told him all that had happened from the first time she met the tree. She was talking and crying at the same time, and the prince was forced to offer her his arms. He realized the princess was an innocent and gentle soul. At last, she stopped talking. He said, taking a deep breath. That's quite an experience you've been through. Yes, she replied, sniffing. Wow. She rested her back on the chair and stared at the prince, who was looking at her with understanding. Everything will be fine, he said. I want to always be your friend. If you have any problem and you need a listening ear, call on me and I'll come running to you. Okay? She nodded. And the prince did not know what to say again. He just knew granting her a listening ear was better than having the beautiful princess cry and feel dejected because of him. He needed her as a wife and would give anything to have her, but not at her expense. He was able to be there for her each time she needed to talk to him, and they became good friends. The king sent different people to cut down the tree. They went there and tried as much as they could, but they could not be able to cut down the tree. Each time they went there, they would see blood gushing out of the tree and in fear would leave it and run for their dear lives. Some would fall sick and refuse to try it again. Few months later, the king ordered his men to search the entire kingdom for the most powerful traditional medicine men they could find and to tell them he wanted them at the palace. They came to answer the king's call and assembled in his courtroom. The king sat with them and told them the problem on ground. They sought for their help. He sought for their help. The great men consulted their ancestors and told the king that the tree was the spiritual husband of the princess, and there was nothing he could do about it. But it's not possible for my daughter to marry a tree, or is it? He asked the men sitting in front of him sadly. It's of course impossible. If it's a human being, I would have allowed it. But a tree? No, no, no. The men were at a loss for words. Throw the divination again and find out what's best to be done. How can the tree be cut down? That's what I want to know, the king said. He ordered. The men threw the divination and came up with a simple solution that would make the cutting of the tree possible. They told the king that on an Eke day, he was to announce everyone they will not go to the market. The villagers were to all assemble at the village square. The princess will be all dressed in her best attire and taken to where the tree was standing. She was to circle it 7 times, after which the tree will be cut down without any problem. They advised the king and queen that the night before the deed was to be done, if they heard any noise coming from the princess' room, no one should intervene. So the king settled for that because there was no other way to solve the problem. All he wanted was for his daughter to become normal again, to also get married and live a happy life like every parent would want their children to do. When the traditional medicine man left, he called the queen and told her what the men had said. He told her to get the princess ready for the sacrifice to be done on the next Eke day. The queen was not happy at all to hear such a thing, but there was nothing she could do. She left and went to make preparations for it because the next day was only a day. The next Eke was only a day away. The tree could see and understand all the king and his men were planning. So that night, when he went to see the princess as usual, he told her everything. It was a day of sadness for both of them. The tree told her what her father had planned to do with the medicine man, and the princess felt bad. If her father succeeded, they would never meet again. The two of them were crying and dancing to farewell music that was playing from the spirit world the tree had conjured. He knew they were going to successfully destroy it. He manifested drinks and food, and they ate and talked at length. They were savoring every moment of their time together. As the music was playing, many in the palace were hearing it, and they found out it was coming from the princess' room. They could hear voices coming from the room. The queen and some others stood at the door, listening, but they could understand nothing, and they felt a strange phenomenon taking place. But they had all been warned already not to interrupt, and so they backed off. The couple indoors were busy with themselves. "Don't worry, my love. I'll come back and claim you, I promise," the tree whispered, and the princess nodded in agreement. "Yes, my love," she replied. I have heard you. Yes, my love. And down the tree left with a tender goodbye to the princess. The next day was Nkwo Day, which was a day to Eke Market Day. The town crier announced round the entire village that no one should go to the market until a special sacrifice to be done at the village square had been completed in the morning. So no market until the sacrifice was done before they could go. That was the command of the king. On Eke Day, very early in the morning, the king and queen arrived with their daughter, Princess Chugu, and their son, Prince Chiso, at the village square. The villagers had all gathered to see what the king had called them for. The medicine men came out, and Princess Chugu was brought forward to stand under the tree. Immediately the tree greeted her and told her that that was the last time they would meet in the body he was carrying as a tree, and kissed her goodbye. The princess started to cry. My love, I love you with all my heart. I can't bear to part with you, she cried. I'll kill myself. No, don't you dare say that. I promised to come back to you, remember? It asked, hugging her. And you shall name me Nkem, meaning yours, because I'm yours and you are mine. She was crying, and everyone was watching the strange princess soliloquizing with a tree. The traditional medicine men called her name, and she came to a standstill, realizing herself it was only the men that were hearing her discussion with the tree because they had the power to understand the spirits. The traditional music man started playing a meaningful tone, and she was told to circle the tree 7 times. Everyone present was told to move to a far distance away from the tree. As she started circling the tree, she circled it 7 times, and the tree fell with a great crash without anyone touching it. The noise was so deafening that the villagers ran back. The medicine men performed the necessary sacrifices, and the king left with his family. The king's son Chisom was so sad about the whole thing that he refused to speak with anyone. He looked at his parents and felt bad that they had left his sister to suffer so much. Imagine the humiliation of a princess being presented in public to perform such a feat. He felt his parents had not been caring enough. If they had been, such a thing would not have happened. They would have noticed it all from the beginning. Princess Chugo refused to see anyone for weeks except the new friend she had become friends with, Prince Oge. He gave her a listening ear and was the only one she allowed to come close to her. She would tell him everything on her mind and what she did with the tree. She told him she loved the tree, and the prince would be smiling at her happiness. They became very close as ordinary friends and nothing more. The friendship grew. The prince accepted the princess as she really was, but he hadn't the guts to ask for her hand in marriage, so he enjoyed the friendship they both had. A month after the incident, the king and his wife broke the news that she was to get ready for marriage in 2 weeks' time. Princess Chugo was so provoked that she refused to eat. She said she would kill herself, but her friend Prince Ogi talked her out of it and made her to calm down. They killed my fiancé and want to force me into marriage. Those God-forsaken men, she cried. I'll never do that. The prince, at a loss for words, replied, you have to be strong. You are a princess, and you've got to let them know you are not weak. Yes, I really need to be strong to oppose them because I will never marry anyone I did not want. That is not my choice, she replied. 2 days later, the king presented some young men to her to make her choice, and she ran out of the room, refusing vehemently. The king and his wife went to their daughter that she must choose among the men, otherwise she would be forced to marry any of them. And with that, they left. Oh, it was terrible. In fact, the young men were 6, and Prince Oge was among them. On the last day that she had been given by her parents, Princess Chugu was brought to the courtroom. The entire palace chiefs and the prominent men of the kingdom were also seated in the room. Her mother was told to perform her queenly duties, and she got up. She brought her daughter forward to stand before the young men. Which of these young men have you chosen to be your husband? She asked. Make your choice now, or I will forcefully choose one for you. There's nothing you can do about that. Princess Shugo looked around and knew her parents really meant business. If she failed to choose one of them, they would forcefully hand her over to any of them. She looked around and thought, if I have to choose out of them, I'd better choose to be with my friend Prince Ogi. So she silently pointed at him, and there was a thunderous applause in the entire room. Prince Ogi was overwhelmed and breathed a deep sigh of relief. Ah, he exclaimed softly. I thank my creator she has chosen me. He knew she did not love him, but he was willing to settle for less. He felt that one day she would learn to accept him. He was almost in tears, but held himself like a man. It was considered weakness in the kingdom when a man cried. Whew, it was terrible. So, the marriage between Princess Shugo and Prince Oge took place, and it was a grand occasion. But the sight of the sad-looking princess was something the entire kingdom will never forget in their history. The princess was escorted by an entourage from her kingdom and her mother to her new home. Her husband's family and the people of the new kingdom she was marrying into welcomed her with happiness. As time went by, the princess became fond of Prince Oki, her husband. She never loved him, but found a great friend in him. He gave her all the love he could muster from his heart, and they lived in peace. A year later, she became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy. From the day the child was born, everyone could see the bond between mother and son. She had always confided in him, and since he was prepared to have her the way she was, he succumbed. It was only Prince Ogi that knew the secret between his wife and the tree. He wanted her happiness and gave in to almost everything she wanted. During the naming ceremony, Shugo insisted on the baby being named Nkim after the tree, as it had instructed her to do, and her husband did not argue. He succumbed because he wanted her happiness and his peace. That is the end of the story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video so that you'll be among the first to also get my video each time I post. I